Hello, this is Yummy Pajama Man again, and today I will be giving a tutorial out for Python, of course, and it'll be over the reading input from keyboard and performing calculations like the PEMDAS, the order, precedence order of operations, the parentheses, exponentiation, multiply, division, addition, subtraction, things like that within the Python program itself. So yeah, let's get started. So the general format for reading an input from a keyboard, so the user, which is the end user is the user at the keyboard printing out something which will be entered into a variable. So what I mean by that is, so let's just type out like name. So we'll type out Bane name is equal to input parentheses, and then I have this little helpful quote right here. It says input parentheses prompt parentheses, which will return a string. So input, what is your name, space, and with a quote, parentheses. So yeah, so actually let me just print, which you guys already know what happens here, so it'll print out whatever is inputted, and I'll save as because this is my new program. So I'll probably just go in here. Yeah, so I'll just save it in here. So I'll name it name.py, I think, into the Python example. And so what this happens, so I'll run it. So run module. What is your name? I'll enter my name, and then it'll print out yummy. So what is happening here is the variable, obviously, so you guys know what the variable is. This is the equal sign, or the the equal sign. And then this is a new function. So new function is the input function, and so you type in input parentheses. Now you're passing an argument of string literal, because it's in quotes, so it's a string. You have to pass it as a quote. What is your name? So that's what's going to display first before the user types in whatever he's going to type in. So it's going to display what is your name. The user types in their name. So that name that they typed in, I typed in yummy, so now name is equal to yummy. So, and then it'll print out the variable, and that's what it does. So we'll redo that. So yeah, so what happens is it'll print out what is your name. The input will print out what is your name, and then it's the end user, or me. My job is to type out whatever, so, and then it returns the name variable. So this is referencing the variable name, and then it's printing out the name. And that's it. That's like the basic of how to get input from the user to assign to a variable. So yeah, let's see. So I think I'm done with that. I'm out of that. So now we'll go on to the function called int and float. I did talk about that before, about the integer and float, and so we'll do that right now. So I'll just cancel that. So what an integer is a whole number, like 5, 2, 56, 104, 228, 1000 is a whole number. And then what a float is a number but with a decimal. So 5 is an int, and then 2.2 is a float. So I'll type out variable value, if I can type it out, equal to, value is equal to input parentheses, and it gives me that quote again. How many hours did you work? How many hours did you work? Question mark, space, quote, parentheses, and so I'll get value. So how many hours did you work? I can enter the value. So yeah, and then trying to see what else there was. Hours, how many hours did you work? So yeah, so what happens is I enter, let's run it actually, and I'll do the same as I did before. So value, so we'll run it again. Should work. Yeah, how many hours did you work? So I worked 67. So what happens is if I assigned a number into here, it returns it as a string. This input will implicitly return as a string. So a string is, this is a string, but it's returning as a string. This number, that number was returned as a string. So if I want to use that number in some calculation, so if I say value minus 2, and it's still a string, so it'll return as an error here because this value is a string. You can't string minus an integer. This is an integer. It's implicitly assigned as an integer because I put that. It's an operation. So return as a, as an error, I hope, unless I'm crazy. Yeah. So saying that it's a string, so it's unsupported operand, the end types for minus. So the first is a string, and then the other side is an int. You can't minus it, so can't do that. So what can we do? We can assign it as a just call another variable like value 2 is equal to int. We have a new function int, and then we say int value parentheses. So what will happen is whatever number I enter here, it'll go down to here and it'll turn it into an int. So now I can do the operation. So yeah, so now it turns into an int and it should work. I gotta change this back to 2 because I'm doing value 2, which is an int now, minus 2. So run module. How many hours did you work? 69, 67, and it works because now we're doing some process. We're doing a mathematical process, arithmetic, and it's minusing the 2 now because these 2 are both int. Now I can return it as a float. Let's say I want it to be a float. A float again is a whole number and a decimal, like a 2.2, 63.69746. It's a decimal included with the whole number. So I think that'll work. Yeah. So run module. How many hours did you work? 43. Well, we'll just say 43. Yeah, it's 41.0. So what happens is I assign 43 and returns it as a float. So it's 43 here equal to value. Value 2 is equal to 43. Now turn it to a float. So since it's a whole number, it'll return as 43.0 into value 2. So now it's 43.0 minus 2. So it'll be 41.0. So let's run it again actually. So if I put like 32.898, yeah. So it returns it as a float as well. So that's the int, and that's the float of a number. You have to make sure if you want to do some mathematical operation, you have to make it into an integer or a float. If not, then it'll create an error if you're trying to do a mathematical operation because the number might be a string, and this implicitly assigns it as a string. Now if I don't want it to implicitly assign as a string, I want whatever I put below, I deleted it, but I want it to be included into the input. So what I can do is trying to read what I have on my paper. Yes, so just put parentheses. I'm just adding it into it. Int, and I have to enclose another parentheses because let's see. So within the int function, this is the argument within the int function, and then within the input function, hello. So it cut off again, which is okay. It's not too bad. So what was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about integer and input. So yeah, this is the argument here, and then this is the argument for the integer. So that's why you have to put in another parentheses here and here to enclose it. How many parentheses you have on the left side, you will have to have on the right side. It's just something that you have to memorize. So how many hours did you work? This is called a nested function. What I was talking about, the terminology that I'll be giving is just optional. It's just easier to memorize and you know, in someone's brain. So and that's it. So user is the end user, like I said before. And you can also change it to a float. Not a big deal. Run module. How many hours did you work? No, and it didn't work. Because I don't know why. Oh, value 2 is not defined. Value 2 is not defined. Oh yeah, I forgot to change this. So yeah, just do this real quick, showing you that int and float will work as well. So it returns 52.0 as a float. So yeah, that's it. So on to the next section. Done with that. I hope that wasn't too fast. I hope. On to the next section is performing calculations, or the PEMDAS, including two other, which I'll talk about later on. So performing calculation, the Python math operator is the same as in algebra. If you guys have taken algebra or the basics of math, and it tells you the precedence, which is, I'll just type it out, PEMDAS. It's just a mnemonic to memorize the order of operations. So it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So everyone should know about that. And then there's two extra ones, which are called integer division and remainder. So we do some order operation. I'll just go through each one. So var is equal to 2 plus 3, and space doesn't really matter, but it does to me. Var is equal to, we'll go to the next one, subtraction. 67 minus 2. Var 3 is equal to multiplication. So you do the multiplication like 4 times 3. So that's the I think it's called asterisk, which is above the 8 on the keyboard. Var 4 is equal to, after multiplication, we go to division. So we'll do like 12 divided by 5. Var 5 is equal to, now I'm adding two extra ones, which is called integer division. So I'll show that real quick. 12 divided by 5. And then one more, the modulus operator, or the remainder. Var 6, the remainder. 12 remainder 5. So the reason why I'm doing the same number is because the only difference is the signs themselves, so you'll know that it's just the signs that are different. And oh yeah, then the final one is var 7, which is equal to exponent. Yeah, so that'll be the last one, exponent. So 2 to the power of 3, which is 8. Should be. So I want to print var 2, print var 3, print var 4, print var 5, var 6, and print var7. These are just variables, so you can call them whatever you want. So just variables. So yeah, so what will happen is, let me just double check real quick. Is your vision 12 plus 2? Yeah, okay. Alright, so before I do the output actually in this program, I just wanted to remind you that for each one of these, this is called the operand because it's the end operand, and then the middle is the operator. So the operator, these two are operands. This is just terminology. It'll help you in the long run when you're doing programming. So it's good to remember the terminology as you go along. So yeah, let's run it. Or actually, let's not run it because it's way too complicated. So what will happen in var is it will return as 5, obviously. 65, you guys know that. 12, this will return a floating point. I'm putting in a comment. Floating point, you don't have to do that. Number. This will return a integer number. And this one, no. What did I do? Oh, 5. This one will return the remainder. What was I doing? Oh yeah, remainder. And then this one obviously will be 8 because you know that's exponents. So these three are very unique. So this is floating point because you know what happens in algebra. 12 divided by 5, it'll be 2 and 2/5, right? 2 and 2/5, and which will be 2.4. Yeah, that'll be 2.4. And you would think this would be 2.4, but since this is an integer and it's a positive, this is a positive integer. Instead of a 2.4, it'll be an integer, so it can't have float. So it'll be, let me think, 2. It'll be 2, yeah. So what happens is it'll truncate the 2.4 and turn it into 2. So var5 will equal to 2. If it's a negative, if I had this as a negative 12, it'll be negative 2.4. So it'll go away from 0. So instead of negative 2.4, it'll be negative 3. If it's a negative, it'll move away from 0. If it's a positive, it'll truncate, or it'll remove the decimal if it's a positive. So truncate, positive. If it's a negative, it'll move away from 0. So instead of negative 2.4, it'll be negative 3. So, and then verse 6, this is a module, or modulus, doesn't really matter. It's just a remainder. So 12 remainder of 5, it'll be 2. Because what is the remainder? 2. Because I said it was 2 and 2/5. So the remainder is 2. Because it's 2 out of 5 fractions, so there's 2 left. So you can divide it back into it, so it's 2. Everyone should know that. So, and the exponents, everyone knows that. So the output should be, it should be what I said. Yeah, so 5, 65, 12, obviously know that. And the floating point division will be 2.4. Since this is a negative, excuse me, this will be integer division, so it'll return as negative 3. It says it's a negative, so it moves away from the 0. And next one is the remainder. Remainder is 2, and then exponent is 8. And there you go. You know the PEMDAS of programming. So yeah, integer division. Yeah, I talked about that. So on to the back side. The precedents of the math operation from highest to lowest are P, E, M, D, integer division, remainder, and then AS. So it's PEM, D, integer division, remainder, and AS. And then, actually, let's just write it down real quick. So order of operation is P, E, M, D. I mean, you don't have to write this down. It's just I'm just showing you integer division, remainder, and then space. Oh, excuse me. I have something in my stomach. So yeah, PEM, integer division, remainder, and then AS. So this is what comes first as a group is P, second, or I'm sorry, parentheses, second is exponential, and then all of this is together into a group. That's the third group, and then this is the fourth group. Now what I'm saying by that is that let's just go back into here, and we'll do multiplication and division. So we'll do value is equal to 12 times 3 divided by 4. So what will happen is this is in actually let's just space this out real quick so you can see it better. Okay, so now we have it in the groups of order of precedence in a group. So since we have operator of times and division, of multiplication and division, they're in the same group, so it doesn't really matter what the precedence is. So if we do division first, which is let's just do 8. So this will be 24. If I do it the other way around, 12 times 8 is 80. 96 divided by 4, which is divided by 4. If it's 90 divided by, god damn it. Well, now it's more complicated. Let's make it even less complicated. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, let's just keep it at 4. So this, if we do this first, it'll be 1, it'll be 3. So if we do the other side, multiplication, it'll be 12 divided by 4, which is 3. See, it's the same answer. Same answer, doesn't matter which one I use first, it's the same answer. That's why they're grouped together here. If I also do integer division and remainder, integer division, it's going to be the, this, and then the remainder, 2. It doesn't matter, the program will just run it through, but if you want to see it from your precedence, it doesn't matter which one you do first. It'll still give you the same value because it's in the same group, empty, integer division, remainder. Now if it has addition and subtraction in it, so say it's plus 2, then what will happen is, what will come first? All of this, because they're in their own group. Doesn't matter the order of operation here, but so they come first, they have precedence, and then it'll go to addition and subtraction. If I put a parenthesis here, right? If I put a parenthesis here, what will come first is the parentheses, P. It'll go P first, has no exponent, so it'll skip that. It sees that it has multiplication, division, integer, and remainder all in here, right? And that's this and this and this. And so yeah, it's just the order of operation. This is in a group. So this comes first, this comes second, this all comes third, and this all comes fourth. So yeah, that is it for the math operation from highest to lowest. I hope that's not too difficult. Sounded pretty difficult to me, but yeah, that's it. And finally, this actually became really long. It's probably going to come out to be 30 minutes, but that's okay. And finally, you can use the line continuation character, the backslash, to wrap the line to the next line. So what I mean by that is, let's see, what am I going to do? Let's do like print hello world, how are you today in this fine place? And let's say that you're working on this and the line is like continually going on to the right, so let's just, woo, yeah. So yeah, it keeps on going to the right, and you don't want to extend this because it's annoying as hell, and you just want to keep it, you don't want to do that, you're just too lazy, you don't want don't want to extend it. So what you can do is, let's go back to here. You can wrap the text around to the next line. So you can go to the next line by closing this. So this will be one argument, and then set this as another argument, right? Or actually, I'll just minus that out real quick. So if I know that my text that I'm about to continue is going to, go past this screen, and I don't want to do that because it's lame. So what you can do is type in a backslash here, press enter, and then continue on typing whatever you're typing. So just like type here on the next line. So yeah, so type here on the next line. You want to end that and enclose it into a parentheses, right? Okay, so what happens is, actually, let's just run it and see what happens. It should work. There we go. And I didn't. Yeah, so it's on one line. Close enough. So what this backslash does, which is above the enter key, it just moves the line to the next line, right? But in order to do that, you have to enclose whatever you're moving to the next line with these quotes as well for it to work. Because if you don't, then it'll just come up with an error because it'll think, oh, each one of these are like variables. Well, they're not. So you want to put a quote here and a quote here. And yeah. Also, another thing that's really cool is, let's just minus this out. If you want to separate two string things like these are strings. These are lines of strings. If you want to separate them out, I don't know why you want to, but you can separate them with a plus sign, and it'll just come out with the same what I had before. So plus sign to separate two strings, or you can do the backslash and then move this down to the next line. So it's easier to read. It's just easier in the program to read because the output doesn't really matter. It's just the output, the same output, but it's just easier for the source coder, for the person who's reading your source code to see what's going on. So yeah, that's it. I hope it doesn't cut off again. So, but yeah, that's it for today. And I will probably come out with more tutorials later to date. And if I forget anything, then remind me. If I overlooked something, or if you have any questions, just ask me, and I will do a tutorial on that. So I'll do a recap. So yeah, thanks for watching my videos. Make sure to watch my other videos. I have other videos that aren't programming in particular, but they're just entertaining by themselves. So you can check that out if you want to go look at that. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you later.